You're listening to the best of the Morning X. You can also catch it on the Morning X podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, or at 99x.com.
Barnes, Leslie, and Jimmy, please welcome back to the show, Ann Rice. Hello, Ann.
Hi, how are you doing?
Doing good. Welcome to Atlanta.
Well, thank you very much.
You are motoring here right now, aren't you?
I am motoring to Atlanta, yes, more or less, roundabout.
The new book, Merrick. Can you tell us a little bit about who Merrick is in this book? I haven't read it yet.
Well, Merrick is actually a witch or a medium. She's a person that can actually call up spirits and sometimes get those spirits to do what she wants. And in this book, my vampires go to her, and they really want her power. As much as the power that they have, they don't have her kind of power.
Now,
and that's what the book is about, really, whether or not Merrick will do what the vampires are asking her to do, which is raise the spirit of the dead vampire child, Claudia.
Now, how many vampire books have you written?
Well, Merrick is the 8th in the Vampire Chronicles. And
so this is part of that whole, you wouldn't call it obviously a trilogy, but that whole series.
The whole series, yeah. The series has been a wonderful experience for me. It's like my vampires are tragic heroes, and they keep opening doors for me in fiction, and as long as they keep opening those doors, I keep going through them and writing new stories and new adventures.
How big is this one, Ann? How many pages?
Actually, this one isn't that long, I don't think. I think it's about 300 pages in printed form. About 500 pages in manuscript, and it usually comes out to be about 300. It's one of my shorter books. I've had, books that are like the phone book.
Right. You do have some big books. Your son was just here recently.
Yeah, he was. Christopher has his own novel, A Density of Souls, and he's doing very, very well with it. I'm so proud of him.
Has he been writing a long time? Does he bring stuff to you and say, Mom, check it out, what do you think? And then you finally said, you know what, you're ready.
Actually, he did not do that. I didn't see his book till it was printed, and then I read it for 2 days straight, and I was just overwhelmed. I thought it was terrific.
Does Lestat make an appearance in this book in Merrick?
Oh, yes, he does. Indeed, he does. He's on his way back. Lestat has been in a state of shock for the last few books, and he hasn't been around, but he's definitely back in Merrick, and he'll be coming in books after Merrick.
Now, I understand this is the first time in any of your books that voodoo comes into play.
That's right. I researched voodoo in New Orleans. I was born in New Orleans, and I'm living there now, and I have never really used voodoo before, but Merrick is what you would call a voodoo-in. I mean, she's a woman who knows how to really practice voodoo, and she uses voodoo and other forms of magic to call up her spirit.
There are all sorts of little voodoo shops in New Orleans.
Yeah, there are. Those are mostly just curiosity shops for tourists, but they have some interesting articles. They have some interesting books on how voodoo used to be practiced in New Orleans. I really found it a lot of fun doing the research.
Have you personally ever witnessed anything that was just really supernatural, like voodoo-like?
No, I wish I could tell you that I have, but the truth is I've never seen a ghost, and I've never witnessed anything. About the nearest I come to it is having some strange dreams, dreams that might lead you to believe that reincarnation was the truth. I am really just ghostless, I don't see them. I live in a house in New Orleans that's supposed to be haunted, and other people have seen the ghost in the house, but I've never seen it, never even felt the presence.
You do have a cool house. I drove by it. Our taxi driver, there's Ann Rice's house.
I know. The taxi drivers in town do that. They all know where my house is, and sometimes I look out the window and I see these taxis crawling by,
And everyone's
kind of
looking all spooked out. Some people have questions for you. Let's go to Jenny. Hey, Jenny, you're on with Ann Rice.
Hi, it is such an honor to speak with you, Ann. You are my favorite author of all time, and my question is, was Memnoch the Devil ever released in hardback? I've been able to find everything else in hardback, but not that one.
Actually, Memnoch the Devil was released in hardback. In fact, it had huge printings in hardback, so you should find it somewhere.
Check eBay.
It should be around in used bookstores or bookstores that keep my current books in print. I think it's in print and hardcover now, as a matter of fact. The stores could probably order it for you.
Okay, great. I'll try to keep looking.
Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you.
James, you're on with Ann Rice.
Hi, I am pretty much a fan of the Vampire Chronicles, and I had thought you had said that Memnoch was going to be the last one, and I never looked for any more. What were the two after that?
Well, Memnoch, I thought, was going to be the last book with Lestat. Lestat was really exhausted after going from heaven to hell in Memnoch, and he wanted to pass out of existence. And I haven't really been able to resurrect him thoroughly yet, but after that I wrote The Vampire Armand, and that is a full-fledged vampire chronicle. And then I wrote a shorter book called Pandora that was all about that vampire. So those two followed Memnoch the Devil.
Hey, Ann, speaking of vampires, have you ever had a bowl of Count Chocula?
I don't think I can eat that now because I'm diabetic.
Oh, that's too bad. I think you would enjoy it.
It sounds like it would be fun.
Dina, you're on with Ann Rice.
Hi, Miss Rice. Oh, my gosh, I'm so excited to speak with you. I adore your books. My question was, how do you do all of your historical research for all of your novels? They're very detailed.
Well, I do my research continuously. I love to read history, and I love to read books on archaeology and anthropology, and I just keep all of my books around me, and I sometimes research while I'm writing. Like while I was writing Merrick, for example, I would run out and collect different items from Merrick's Voodoo altar, or I would read up on Voodoo right while I was doing the book. Right before Merrick worked some of her seances or conjuring scenes, I'd study on Coptic magic and different forms of magic so I could get phrases and words from Merrick. So my research is a kind of fluid, ongoing thing with me.
And let me ask you about the discipline of writing. Do you have to force yourself to sit down and write, or, I mean, will you set aside certain hours of the day when you're writing a book, or do you only write when you're feeling the inspiration?
Well, it's sort of all of those things. The great thing about being a writer is there are no real rules, and you can do it all kinds of different ways. And certainly there are days when I at least force myself to try. And then pretty quickly I'm into it, and it's a great pleasure. It's kind of like, you know, I've never skied, but I always compare it to skiing because it feels like that to me, like I'm skiing, like I'm going downhill on wonderfully smooth snow. It's just, that's what it feels like. And, of course, other times nothing comes at all, and I just back off and I think, well, okay, today I'll read.
And then as a matter of practice, will you, let's say, after you write something, automatically go back the next day and read it to get another look at it?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I will do that. I remember Ernest Hemingway said that he always did that. The following day, he rewrote everything he had written the day before, and then he continued. And I go back in my computer and go over the preceding chapter to make sure it's just the way I want it, and then I go on.
Do you only write in one specific place? Do you have just your office, or do you write wherever it comes to you?
Do you have a laptop you carry on planes and write?
No, I can't use laptops. You know, I'm one of those real speed typists from secretarial days, and the truth is my fingers just crowd up a little laptop and jam up the screen. But I have a powerful computer at home, and I write almost everything at my desk at that computer. I do carry a handwritten diary, I do write notes all the time on the plane. I have my diary with me wherever I go.
Have you ever had your computer crash and you lose, like, entire chapters of books?
Not too bad. I do what's called backing up. You know, I back up every minute, really.
Yeah,
and I also print out a lot. You know, the hard copy. I have a big, powerful printer and can sometimes print out the whole novel every night.
If a taxi was driving by pointing out your house one night and it was a stormy, eerie night in New Orleans, would one expect Ann would be up there maybe trying to get the vibe going?
Yeah, is there certain weather that maybe inspires you more than others?
Well, actually, thunderstorms are very inspiring, but they also often shut off the power.
Oh, true.
Ouch.
So you can't use the inspiration of a thunderstorm too well.
Now, what did you do on Halloween?
Electrically.
What did you do on Halloween?
What did I do on Halloween? I was at the Greenwich Village parade for the first time. I saw the parade in the Village in New York, and it was marvelous.
Excellent.
Good. Another question or two, and then we'll let you...
Go to Sandra. Sandra, you're on with Ann Rice.
Hi, Ann. First of all, I wanted to tell you that you've really inspired me in the erotic fiction portion of my life. I was wondering if you were planning on releasing any more erotic fiction books.
Oh, no, I'm glad it inspired you, but I feel like I did what I was set out to do with my erotic fiction, and I won't be writing any more of it. I'm very proud of it, and I'm glad it's out there, but I'm kind of finished.
You sound a little uneasy about maybe talking about that. That's just something I picked up when you say that.
Oh, no, I'm not uneasy about it. It's just that I wrote it in the 80s, and it's been published now for a long time. I guess maybe, 15 years, and it's not something that's current in my mind, you know?
See.
But I'm very proud of it, and they're always giving me good sales reports on it, and it does very well, and people come up at the book signings with copies of the erotica that they want signed, and I love it, really.
Okay.
Well, Ann, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ann.
Well, thank you guys very much for having me on. I
Ann
enjoyed
Rice.
it.
This is the best of the Morning X.
2 hours of sparkling entertainment spread out over a 4-hour show.
99